Okay, it's a rainy day in Lakemont, Georgia. Bob and Selena here. We're with Blue Ridge Honey Company. We're beekeepers primarily, but we also sell bee supplies and sell bees, and we have a nice retail store. And we make soap, among other items, for our retail store and website. And Selena makes our soap and our lip balms and things like that, and she's really good at it. She's passionate about it. She takes it real serious. She's done all the research, and she's got a lot of practice at it, and she's putting out some pretty good soap. So I'm going to stay completely out of this video. I'm going to put it all on Selena. Don't be nervous now. I'm going to put it all on Selena. I'm going to have her explain the total process, all the ingredients, and we'll have a shot of the recipe and all that before it's over. This will not be a real short video. This takes a little bit of a process, and I'm just going to turn it over to her and let her explain.
So the first thing I wanted to show you was everything that you'll need to make the soap. We have the ingredients already measured out, and I just wrote down how much you're going to use of each one. And we're making a large batch of soap, which will be 60 bars at 5 ounces a piece. And we're actually doing 2 batches today. I wanted to show the soap without color, and then one of our soaps that does have a color in it, so you can see the difference there. So first you'll need some gloves. I have nitrile gloves here. They're chemical resistant. Then we have a thermometer. We need to keep track of the temperatures of both our oils and our water and lye mixture. We need them to be the same temperature when we mix them together. Then you'll need spatulas. You have to use, because the lye is corrosive, you have to use either stainless steel, glass, silicone, or rubber with everything that you're using. So these are stainless steel, our pots here. I already have my palm oil measured out in this pot. So we have 2,161 grams of palm oil. I have 87 grams of beeswax, 2,014 grams of coconut oil. There's 2,542 grams of olive oil. And this is really 3 parts. You have your oils, then you're going to have your lye and your water. I have 923 grams of lye, 2,361 grams of water. And then the third part is your additives. This is going to be your color, your scent. If you wanted to add honey or propolis or oatmeal, this is the stage that you would add that. We're using a mica powder for our color, and this is our cedar wood fragrance oil. And then over here I have the same, everything is the same measurements here: palm oil, beeswax, coconut oil, olive oil, water, lye, and then my essential oils. And this batch is frankincense. Our frankincense and myrrh soap does not have a color, so I really wanted to show that one to you, to show you how the soap turns out if you don't add a color. For that soap. So if you don't use any color in your soap with this recipe, this is the shade that it will turn out. So the first thing that I do when I start to make soap is I want to mix together my water and my lye. So you need some gloves. I'm using chemical resistant nitrile gloves. Lye water can give you a chemical burn, so you want to be really careful not to get this on your skin. And if you get it on any organic surfaces, like this is a wood surface, you can see it sort of stains it. If you do end up getting the lye on your skin, vinegar neutralizes the burn. So if you put apple cider vinegar, or if you have some pickles and you can just use pickle juice, that'll help it to stop burning and stop hurting your skin. So also, you do not want to stand over this when you're mixing it. You don't want to breathe this. So you want to keep your face back away from this while you're mixing it. Once I pour the lye in, I'm going to try to stir really vigorously for at least 30 seconds and make sure all the lye gets dissolved. The reason I mix together the water and lye first is because as soon as you mix these two ingredients together, it's going to heat up to at least 185 degrees. And we are only going to heat up our oils to about 160, 165 at the most. And we want these mixtures to cool down at about the same time. We need them to be around 120 before we mix them together. So I do the water and lye first because it takes longer for it to cool down. And I keep track of the temperature of my water and lye mixture and my oils with this thermometer the whole time. Something else you want to make sure you don't do is you don't want to use the same spatula that you mix the water and lye with to mix your oils. You do not want this water or lye to contaminate your oils before the temperature is right to mix them. Now I'm just going to cover my lye water and put it to the side. And we're going to start melting down our oils. So I already have my palm oil in my pot here. I'm going to go ahead and add my beeswax and turn it up on high. And I'm doing 2 batches of soap, so I'm going to go ahead and add my beeswax to this pot too. Next we'll add the coconut oil, and we use the 76 melt coconut oil. Next is the olive oil. And then we're just going to keep stirring these ingredients until they melt down. We want to make sure everything is thoroughly mixed and nothing is separating. We will heat this up to about 160, but we don't want to go over 170 because you'll start ruining your beeswax. So you don't want to go over 170. About 160, 165 is the temperature you'll need for the beeswax to melt down. If you're not using beeswax in your soap, you only want to get up to about 140. So the different types of soap that we make here at Blue Ridge are a lavender, eucalyptus, lemongrass, tea tree, cedarwood, frankincense and myrrh, honey almond, and purple rain. And our top sellers are this frankincense and myrrh, the lemongrass, and also the lavender is a good seller. You need to let your soap cure for at least 3 weeks, but we let ours sit on this drying rack for 4 weeks before we put it in our store. We get all of our essential oils from Lebermuth. And we get most of our other ingredients for the soap from a website called Crafter's Choice. Crafter's Choice has just about everything that you would need to make soap. On the end here in the blue and the box underneath it is palm oil. Mica powders for our coloring for the soaps from Rustic Essentials. And then we also got a couple mica powders from the Crafter's Choice website. So this is our soapbox mold, and I've already gotten this one all ready to pour my soap. It has a parchment paper lining, and now I'm going to take you over to my other soap box to show you the box itself and how I folded the parchment paper inside of it. So this is the 24-inch wide parchment paper that I'm using to line our boxes with, and the bracket here comes from Uline, and I'm just going to show you real quick the way I would tear it off. Once you get it about as long as you'd like it to be, you're going to want to rip it really fast to one side so you get a nice clean rip. So these are our custom boxes made here at Blue Ridge for our own soap making, but there are similar boxes online, and we'll share the link at the end of this video for those boxes. The inner dimensions of this box is 17 3/8 inches long, 14 inches wide, and it is 3.5 inches deep. And now I'm just going to show you how I line it with this parchment paper. So I've already folded the corner in and then over, and now I'm just setting it into my box, and I'm going to make the corners as tight against the box as I can. And I'm using wood clamps to hold this together. And I just already have a few pieces of tape here to the side and some scissors so I can cut my parchment paper and hold it in place. Right now I'm just lining the bottom of the box and making creases at each corner. Now that I have my bottom creased, I'm going to fold this corner out. And loosely tape it down while I make sure that everything is just right on the inside. And now I'm just going to make sure all the creases are nice and straight. A little bit of time has passed. We let our oils heat up to about 160 and everything is thoroughly mixed together. I removed everything from the heat at 160 and now I'm waiting for our oils to cool down. Our lye and our oil mixture both need to be around 120 degrees when we mix them together. That's because we're using beeswax. If you weren't using beeswax, then you could wait to get down to about 110 before you mix them together. Before we mix the water and lye with the oils, I'm going to add in our mica powder for color. This is our cedar wood color and it's called Golden Sparks. This is my favorite part because the oil and mica powder look so pretty together. So this Gold Sparks is the color that we're using for the cedar wood soap. We use an Arctic White for our eucalyptus soap. Enchanted Forest is the one we use for tea tree. The Basic Purple for our lavender soap. And then they discontinued the color from Rustic Essentials for our lemongrass soap, so we got a Crafter's Choice Yellow Baby Duck. So I'm going to use an emulsion blender. This is a pretty fancy one, but you can get a smaller one that'll work just as well. All of our temperatures now are around 120. Our lye is about 120, and so is our oil mixture. And now we're going to go ahead and add them together. Once I put them together, I have to mix really quickly and try to make sure everything gets well blended. And I'm going to be watching for a trace to start. I can tell that the trace starts when the soap is thickened up enough that it's starting to sit on top when it drips out, and I'll show you that as it happens. The soap has thickened up a bit, but I can still see where there's a little bit of separation. And it is time to go ahead and add in your fragrance. So I'm going to stop it and check for the trace. I do that by dripping on top of the soap, and it's settling in, so it's not ready yet. When you pull the mixer out, you can see that it's starting to just sit on the top instead of settling in. That's how you can tell that the soap is going to trace. When it gets to this point, you want to pour it as quickly as possible into your mold. And I'm just going to try to get every little bit out of here. The quicker you're able to do this, the smoother your surface of your soap will be. And the final step is I tap it so that I can bring any bubbles that are in the soap up to the surface so that they're not in the soap when it hardens. It's really important that any surface that you're making this on is level so that the top of your soap is nice and flat and every bar is even. Now I'm just going to put a lid on this, and this will sit from 17 to 24 hours. So I'm going to leave it overnight, and then we'll be able to cut this soap tomorrow. So since I'm making 2 batches of soap and I just have this one blender, I've got to rush to go wash this off so that I can put it in my other batch of soap. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and mix together our second batch of soap. This one is frankincense. So now you can see that our frankincense soap is starting to go to trace. The way you can tell that is it sits on top instead of settling in. And we're gonna go ahead and pour it as fast as we can. And we're covering it. And I'm going to go ahead and move both of these batches of soap over to the same table. And then I'm also going to cover them with a warming blanket. So when it's 85 degrees and it's warm here in our warehouse, I don't use these warming blankets. I only just use our lid. But it is wintertime here. Our warehouse is staying pretty cold, and I'm using these warming blankets to help trap in some of the heat and slow down the cooling off process. So these are 2 batches of soap that I made yesterday that are ready to cut now. I have these little tags that I keep with the soap that will follow them to our drying rack so that we know exactly when this soap was made and when it'll be ready to be sold in the store. So this is a frankincense and lemongrass soap. Okay, so I already removed the wood clamps from this soap box. So now I'm just going to peel up my tape and take out our little door and stand my soap box up carefully. I don't want to mess up any of the edges of my soap, so you want to handle it really carefully. I'm just peeling off the parchment. And now I'm putting my block into my soap cutter. And I want to push it all the way up into the corner so that all my soap turns out the same size. The cutter is made with these wires, kind of like a guitar string or piano string, and it has these little adjusters like a guitar so you can make it tighter or looser. Okay, now we're moving over to our smaller cutter to make our soap blocks. While your soap cures, you really want air to be able to reach every surface of the soap. So these trays are really great. They lift the soap off the bottom, and then we want to give it space around each block of soap. This smaller cutter is made with similar wires and adjustable knobs, and we will leave a link in the description of this video for similar soap cutters. So now I'm going to make sure that I put our lot code with today's date and what type of soap this is with our soap and put it on our drying rack. It'll stay on this drying rack for 30 days before we sell it in our store. These racks only hold 30 bars of soap, and our large batches of soap are 60. So we use 2 trays for each batch of soap. So this is actually a baker's speed rack. You can see these at bakeries pretty often. Thank you for joining us today, and I really hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments and we'll do our very best to get back to you and help you any way we can. There's definitely a learning curve with making soap. It's a little tricky and things can go wrong, so don't be too hard on yourself. If you make a mistake, try again. This is a lot of fun. It's really satisfying, and I think we make some really great soap. I hope you have fun with it.